All right, everybody. Well, hey, welcome to Note Night in America. Scott Carson, your host here. Glad to have you here on the Monday after Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all our moms out there of the two-legged or the four-legged kind. But we are so excited for tonight's episode, but we are just absolutely rock and rolling. I don't think there's a better time to be discussing tonight's topic than now, as we all are kind of figuring out, okay, what to do, what can I do, what can I do? And trust me, guys and gals, you are in for a treat tonight. So hopefully you've got a pen and paper there, whether you're watching this live on Zoom, you're watching this on our Facebook live stream, or you're catching the YouTube or the replays later on. This is something you definitely want to take some notes on, because we all want to do more. And I will tell you, I've had a lot of people on my podcast over the last couple of years, and there's one quote that stands out in my mind more than anything else. And it is from our guest here, who says, if you're doing $10 an hour jobs, you're going to have a $10 an hour bank account. And we don't want to have that. But before we get rocking and rolling there, guys, we do record these. If this is your first time, welcome to Note Night in America. We are recording these. We have turned this into a podcast. You can catch the replay to all of our Note Night in America by going to weclosenotes.tv. They'll take you directly to our YouTube channel. While you're there, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like, comment on the videos as well, too. But check out the podcast as well, Note Night in America, which we convert all of our Note Night in America webinars into podcasts as well for you, too, out there. And you can check out all the things that we do at weclosenotes.com as well. But couple quick pointers. There's two events that are upcoming here. One this weekend, and then one less than 30 days out. One this weekend is our virtual note buying workshop. It's the first workshop of the year. We kind of pushed it out. I said, well, we need to kind of dive into it because of what's going on in the market. We're really excited about some of the new content and some of the new things we'll be talking about this weekend. Kicks off this Friday at 9 a.m. Central, run all day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll end up about 3 o'clock. You can go to notebuyingfordummies.com. Normal ticket price is $6.99, but we dropped it down to $5.99 for you. Replays are included, and that's good for you, plus a spouse or business partner. Can't make it to that. We do have our big online note convention called Note Camp 2020 in less than a month, June 5th through the 7th. You can go to notecamp2020.com. Prices just went up to $149. You want to make sure and get that early pricing point before they go up again June 1st. Here's the big thing. If you sign up for the virtual workshop this weekend, we throw in a ticket to Note Camp 2020 for you. So good way to get two with one there for you out there as well for you. And then I know many people, we got a lot of people on our database from California looking for deals. This just literally came across my desk about 2 hours ago. It's a Lake Elsinore first lien non-performing note. House is worth over $300,000. It was a mezzanine finance deal. Guy took out money, rehabbed the property, but has not made a payment. First lien's about $254, values over $300. 9 months in default, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,700 square foot with a pool. It is valued, like I said, over $300,000. It's 3 blocks from the Lake Elsinore there. You know where Lake Elsinore, it's halfway between Temecula and Moreno. If you'd like to throw in a bit to get more information, email me directly at scott@weclosenotes.com. We'll send you an NDA and get rocking for it, because I think the seller is looking somewhere around 60-65% of as is value. So it could still be a way to pick up. I think the total payoff is over $280 on this thing. So a way for you to pick up a decent chunk of change in a nice area. It's really appreciating. So, but anyway, I have to give a big shout out, drum roll, to our 500th Note Night in America RSVP for 2020, Angel Connolly. Hey, congratulations. You were the 500th RSVP for tonight's webinar tonight. Excited to have you guys. I was looking, there's different Angel Connolly, so I didn't want to assume. So if you're live joining us right now, Angel, or watching this, email me at scott@weclosenotes.com. We'll get your claim your prize package for being the 500th RSVP for tonight's webinar. So, but anyway, let's get to the big meat and potatoes. Let's get to what you're here for tonight, because I know many of you guys are out there looking to do things, get a bigger bang for your buck, make a bigger impact in your business, and you are in for a treat tonight with this guy out here who's joining us live here. This guy was a guest on the Note Closer Show podcast a couple months ago. Tremendous amount of downloads, got a lot of positive feedback from it. He is the co-host of the Friday Coffee Break with a couple other buddies of mine. He is the founder and CEO of REVA Global LLC. He's been a long-time real estate investor and mentor. Got started doing a lot of stuff with our buddy Patrick Precourt, doing short sales and investing all across the country. He's got the scars to talk about. Hopefully we don't get back to those days of short sales again. Hey, Bob?
That's right. That's right. We will though. We will.
Exactly. But he's a previous 8-year professional hockey player. That's why I'm wearing the hockey jersey tonight in honor of him. But he is a marketing and virtual assistant expert. And like I said, he's co-host of the podcast Friday Coffee Break, our buddy Bob Lachance there. And I found your Upper Deck 94 card there from the World Championship there for you.
Love it, love it. The good old days with the helmet that was too big. I like. You see the fake sweat on the face on that one too.
Yeah, the spray bottle sprayed on right before you take the photo, right?
That's exactly right. I love it.
Oh, good stuff there, man. Well, hey, I know you've got a presentation pulled up here that you want to dive into because we were talking about this earlier before. But do you want to, as people are coming in, if they have questions, do you want me to moderate those and ask you as they come in, or wait till the very end, Bob? What do you prefer doing?
Like whatever you want to do, that you could interrupt me. It doesn't matter. What's the setup here? Is it showing an actual PowerPoint, or is it just you and I just going back and forth? Because I could do anything.
I think Preston said you got a PowerPoint, so you need to, if you got your PowerPoint, just pull it up and share it there.
All right. Let me see here. All right. Let me see if you can see it because let me see. Let me see. I'm gonna have to show my screen here. Share my screen. Yep. All right. Let me know if you can see it.
Perfect. Yep.
Still see it here?
I see your presentation slide. So I see
see both of
presentation. Them? Yeah, I see your current slide and your future slide. So if you want to just go to where you were at beforehand.
Yep. Let me just go like this. Hold on a second. Go exit. Yeah, because I have 2 screen monitors. We'll do half of it. That's fine. Here, let me show you something. There you go. Does this work for you?
Yeah, that's fine. It's perfect.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. All right, perfect. Let me just start with the front. All right, I guess, do you want to lead it, or you want me just to start yipping?
Hey, well, first of all, why don't you just kind of talk how you kind of got into it, unless you got it in there already, because you've got a great background, coming basically like a fish out of cold water and getting into investing and learning to do things, and how you really built REVA from your experience, you know?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So I started back in 2004 in real estate investing. You mentioned Pat Precourt a couple times. I was fortunate to meet him right when I got into real estate. Right prior to that, I played professional hockey for 8 years, 4 years here in the U.S. and then 4 years in Europe. Then in 2004, I decided to retire from hockey. I left school early prior to that too, back in, 1996, because I got offered a professional contract, 2 classes short actually from getting a degree. So I decided, hey, either take a $110,000 signing bonus or, finish school. So I decided, I was a young kid at that time. I took the money and I jumped into professional sports. And then fast forward 8 years, decided either to go back to school and or jump into an industry where you didn't need a college degree. So I figured I would jump into real estate, which you do not need a college degree, just so everybody knows. And it's very easy to get into real estate investing. 0 barriers of entry. So at that time, I was fortunate. My first deal, I did a flip. So I was driving around neighborhoods, farming areas. I did a flip, ended up making about 32 grand. That's when I met my buddy, Pat Precourt, who was my business partner, ended up being my business partner for 10 years. And also one of my co-hosts with Amy Ransdale of our Friday Coffee Break every Friday at 10 a.m. EST. And then from there, we actually started doing short sales. Him and I did approximately over 700 short sale transactions. We also helped coordinate and start a mentor program that revolved around short sales. And then from that, we helped start another real estate education company. And we were focused on the fulfillment side, which was the coaching and mentoring side. And then from that, investing and also realizing a huge need, working with, I think it was probably to date over 20,000 students, but a huge need not only in our own real estate business, but also, within investors around the world. We realized there's a huge need in hired help that actually is affordable. So Pat and I actually, it's funny, we were brainstorming the whole time. We were helping run the coaching program. We were saying, you know what, we need a service or some sort of product that'll help individuals, whether they're brand new or they're seasoned, do tasks in their business to help, because a lot of these individuals that were actually coaching students of ours either worked part-time or they were hugely busy in their own real estate business. And then 2013, I got introduced to the virtual assistant world. Now, true disclosure, I never even knew what a virtual assistant was back in 2013. And then I saw a webinar on virtual assistants. I'm like, huh, this is exactly what I need. So I tested my first virtual assistant, went through a couple, went through the pains of actually trying to find one. And then 2014, a light bulb went off and I said, you know what, since there's a huge need out there, this is a great business model. So I had to figure out how to start a company, a new virtual assistant company that was based out of an international company. So my company's based out of the Philippines, and we use all Philippine virtual assistants. So I had to figure out how to run a global company. So 2014, tested it for a year, 2 years. Proof of concept works, and then fast forward 6 years now, it's up and running. It's going very, very well.
Awesome, good stuff, man.
Long and short. Long. I don't know if that was long-winded or short-winded. I don't know, but it was winded. So you tell me how you want to go with this, Scott, and then we'll
take it away. Take it away.
All right, cool.
Take it away, brother. I'll sit here and moderate the online summits, and as questions they pop up, I'll jump in and go from there. So I'll be here.
All right, very good. So Scott asked me to join. Obviously, thank you for inviting me here, Scott, tonight. Scott asked me to join to put on a little training in reference to keys to hiring and training virtual assistants, because I get this question literally every day. And I know Scott has gotten this question a lot lately. So he figured, hey, let's get on a call and let's get together and show everyone a number of things on, where to find VAs, how to find VAs, and actually what to outsource first. So we'll just do an overview of this, and I hope I don't go too fast. I am from Northeast and I'm from Connecticut. So we've been known to talk 1,000 miles an hour, so I do apologize already before we get started. But
no Red Bull or coffee today yet, have you? Bob, right?
I probably had about 10 coffees already, but it's all good. So, all right, the first question I get all the time is what's the first thing I do when I'm looking for a virtual assistant? And I like breaking it down into the 4 R's of hiring. For those of you who ever know me, I'm very transparent on a lot of stuff. I learned the 4 R's from hiring. I did it a lot like this, but it wasn't the 4 R's of hiring. So just so you know, I did take a little bit of this from other people. So just so you know, some of these slides might be a little off, but I did get a lot of these ideas around on how to present this. Scott, like I said, I'm very transparent, so I figured out, I'm going to keep that rolling. So the 4 R's.
Heck yeah, man. Go right ahead.
4 R's of hiring. Number 1, role. Number 2, responsibility. Number 3, requirements. And 4, results. So whenever you're looking for a virtual assistant, I'll break it down. And this is really, really important. And if you could take notes or take a screenshot, feel free to take a screenshot. The first one is roles. You have to make sure you know the exact role. And I'm not going to read this. You guys could read it on screen. But you need to know the exact role that you're looking to bring somebody on for, whether it's somebody sitting in your office, whether it's somebody virtual, whether it's a virtual assistant from my company, wherever it is. We have to make sure that we know the exact role that you want to bring that person on for. So you may ask, well, what do you mean by that? Well, if I'm looking at my business and I say, I need a bookkeeper or I need a cold caller, right? If you look at the exact role that you want in your business, be crystal clear on what that role is, because bookkeeper and a cold caller are 2 different separate roles on the total opposite spectrum. The reason why I'm using those 2 as an example is because I've had clients come to me to say, hey, I need a cold caller. And then all of a sudden they started using the virtual assistant as well to do books. Those 2 things do not match. That's 2 different type of personality skill sets with any individual. So make sure you're crystal clear on what that role is. If it's a cold caller, make sure it's a cold caller. If you want someone to scrape leads online, they don't have to talk on the phone, then guess what? That's somebody who's going to scrape leads online, whether it's Craigslist, Zillow, for sale by owner. But make sure that role is crystal clear, all right? Next, responsibilities. What that means, the responsibilities has to do with the tasks from that role. So for example, if I'm going to hire, let's go with a cold caller, right? Because that's the most common one that we see, a virtual assistant doing any type of phone work. First, my role, my job description is going to be an individual who is on the phone all day long. Then you say, okay, responsibility. What exactly does that mean? That means I'm going to have to write down and itemize every single task that you want your virtual assistant to do. So number one, I'll give you a perfect example. If you want your virtual assistant to cold call, then you're going to have to write out the tasks that you want them to do. So for instance, if you also want them to pull lists from your database, you want them to skip trace, you want them to upload that list to your phone system, and then you want them to start dialing every single day. Those would be the tasks that you'd want to write out step by step by step. So for instance, I'll give you an example. All right, I'm going to go to PropStream. I'm going to go into all of their leads list. I'm going to click on out-of-state owners. I'm going to download that list. I'm going to get it skip traced. I'm going to take that lead or take that list. I'm going to export it. I'm going to formulate it into the right format, and then I'm going to upload it into my dialer. So some of you may be saying, what kind of dialers do you use? We have two different dialers I use in my office. One of them is 5.9. I have an outbound dialing company called Deal Dialers that just dials all day long. And then in-house, I have a dialer called Smartphone. That's SMRT phone, smartphone. Works really, really well. So I use two different types of dialers if that's what you're thinking in your mind. Virtual assistant logs in, hits the dialer, and dials all day long. So what the idea is at that point, the virtual assistant then is to get a warm lead on the phone. So these are all cold calls. So when you're writing out your responsibilities, it's step by step by step. Once they get a hold of somebody and they determine the motivation, they're going to fill out a form. And as soon as it gets filled out, it automatically gets emailed over to me and my acquisition team. So those are the tasks and responsibilities that we're talking about. So again, just to reiterate that, you got roles. We want a cold caller. Responsibilities, I just laid out those responsibilities. Now requirements. What types of skill sets, the unique skill sets and knowledge do you want your cold caller to have? Do you want them to have call center experience? Do you want them to have a 4-year college degree? Do you want them to have a neutral accent? English proficiency is very, very good. Strong communication skills, etc. Do you want them part-time, full-time? So at that time, now you're going to lay out your requirements on what you actually want. So again, just to reiterate that, we identified we want a cold caller. Then we identified the responsibilities. Then we identified the requirements that are needed. And then finally, you want to look at the results. What results do you expect, me, you, do we expect from a cold caller? How many calls do you want them to call? How many connects do you want them to connect per day? How many leads do you want them to generate per day? So typically, just to give you a rule of thumb, if you have a full-time anybody, even an American and a virtual assistant, you're going to get around the same numbers. I know people may debate me on this. I've tested a lot, but you're going to get about 1 to 3 per day. So at the end of the week, you could get at least 5 interested to sales is what we call them. So our virtual assistants are hammering the phones all day long. And as soon as they get someone that picks up their phone, that's a connect rate. And when they talk to them, they determine, yes, are they open to entertaining an offer? That's what we consider a warm lead, an ITS, an interested to sell lead. So you will get anywhere from 5 to 15 per week from one virtual assistant. So that's going to be your range. Again, it all determines, and not that I'm going to go off on a tangent here, Scott, but it all depends too on the type of data that you have and the list that you're actually hitting as well, and how good your phone numbers are.
That totally makes sense, because the cleaner the list, the more accurate, the better the phone calls, and like you said, the more specific in what you want them to do, the more success you're going to have, the higher quality of a lead you're going to have too for you. So
yep.
Yeah.
And the skip trace service, there's a lot of different skip trace services. There's some ones that are not good. There's ones that are better than them, right? And because has to think about this, if you're going to skip trace a list, and just so everyone knows, skip tracing means they are looking, what we do is in our skip trace, we look for the highest probability phone number for that one contact. So we don't skip trace for 10 numbers. We skip trace for the highest probability for one phone number. And it's a mix of mobile phones and a mix of landline phones. So that's what you're going to get there. Just that's considered skip tracing if you're thinking about what is skip tracing. So that's my definition of skip tracing. So that is a little bit, again, to reiterate this, you got your roles, responsibilities, requirements, and results. So that's what you're looking for when you're looking to hire a virtual assistant. I'm just going to give you some tips on what we do in the back end, because the way we set up our process, you could use the same model. We have a sourcing and recruiting team in the Philippines that sources hundreds and hundreds of resumes on a monthly basis. And what happens is once they source, they look at all the resumes. You're going to have to do this yourself as well. Then they screen, our team screens all of the resumes. So it's sourcing, screening, and then we have a 2-step interview process. Well, actually 3-step after that, because you have the initial interview, we have a final interview, and then we have what's called a systems check. And this is where a lot of individuals make their mistakes. Because many individuals here that hire virtual assistants, they don't check out what is going on with their operating system, with their system specs, with their speed test, with any of their backup. So for instance, system check would be the processors, their RAM, disk space, disk capacity, and speed test is like the download speeds, upload speeds, etc. So, and make sure they also have a backup. So what that means, and not to get confused, to confuse anybody, but what you have to look at, it's just your internet connection, right? And if somebody has backup inside their house, because in a lot of these countries, they do have internet cafes, but you want to make sure that that is not their only backup. You want to make sure that they have a backup actually in their house. So those are just some tips, Scott, that I just want to make sure I give, because I see some of those mistakes being made, and that's the feedback that we get, just to make sure that, you know, when you're doing this, if you decide to, you know, go out and try to do this on your own, those are just some really cool things to make sure that, you know, you are looking for. So just want to make sure that
the last thing you want is a tsunami or a flood or a earthquake to interrupt your assistance, which we've all seen
exactly
quite a bit here. Yeah.
Yep. All right, and this is another question that I get very, very often is, how do I determine what to outsource first, right? I mean, here's the way I look at it, and it's very, very simple. I'll just go to the slide and I'll just break it up. So I would grab a pen and I would actually put a line right in the middle. There's gonna be 2 different T's that we're gonna make, right? One of them, put a T on the left side, a T on the right side. So the T on the left side, I would put income producing tasks on one side of the line, and then non-income producing tasks on one side of the line. And on your other T, you put things you love to do, other side, things you hate to do. So for instance, income producing tasks to me are talking to motivated sellers, talking to motivated buyers, talking to private money lenders, talking to hard money lenders, talking to attorneys, talking to bankers, anything that I feel is going to put money in my pocket. So those to me are income producing tasks. Non-income producing tasks are anything that just, number one, that I think that do not put money in my pocket. I'll give you an example. If I have to go to Craigslist every single day and scrape new leads, put them on a Google sheet, and then skip trace them, that's not making me any money, right? It's going to make me money in the future, but right then and there, those are tasks that are not income producing tasks. Same thing with Zillow. If I'm going into Zillow every day and looking at all of the rentals in Zillow, because I'm looking for tired landlords, but I'm scraping all of those names, putting them on a spreadsheet, and then getting the phone numbers that are on Zillow and then putting them back into a spreadsheet, and I'm going to start outbound dialing them. That to me are non-income producing tasks. Those are stuff that I would definitely start outsourcing immediately. Then on the love and hate side, the things that I love to hate, typically love to hate tasks are energy, they just suck your energy up, right? If you grab your phone and you look at your calendar tomorrow and you say, oh crap, I got to do this. Oh, and then Wednesday I got to do this. Oh, and then Thursday. Those are the things that you have to start outsourcing, because long term, if you look at it, this business, we're in this business long term, right? There's no get rich quick anything in any business. Real estate is a long play. It's a marathon. It's a journey, right? So if you start looking at all of those tasks each and every week, if they start draining you and you hate doing them, you will 100% stop doing them. And once you stop doing them, you'll realize that it'll start hitting your bottom line. So those are the things that I would highly recommend moving over and pushing over and outsourcing to a virtual assistant. So create a daily task timeline. Allows you to better understand how much of your time is spent on what tasks each day. So basically grab a calendar and look to see what you're doing every second of the day. It's almost like a time in motion. If anyone have ever heard of a time in motion, that's a great way to analyze anyone in your office. If you're looking, let's say your acquisition person is kind of, he closes a lot of deals one year and then he's struggling the next, or one week, and then the next week he's struggling. The week after that, he's struggling. Great thing to do is now do a time in motion. Have him grab a calendar, see exactly what he's doing, what tasks that he's spending time on every single day, and you start chunking it up, right? So those are the things that we do on a daily basis to make sure everybody is as efficient as they can be. We have individuals come to us, when we talk about business growth, right? You start looking at the beginning of the year. Let's say it's January 1st. You have a New Year's resolution, right? You start looking at, all right, I'm going to really analyze my business. There's 3 things that we all look to do. We either want to become more efficient, we either want to scale our business, or we want more time freedom in our lives and our days. So those are the 3 things, no matter what anybody that's listening to this will be looking at, whether it's, the New Year's resolution. I just use New Year's resolution as an example. If we now take a step back and we really look at where we are right now, those are mainly the 3 things that we want to accomplish, or one of those things that we want to accomplish. So getting back to what we're looking at, here's just an example of what you can do. Take a screenshot of this, like I said, what you can do as a daily task timeline. So 8 a.m., an hour and a half, you want to do marketing. Let's say this is scraping leads on Zillow, Craigslist for sale by owners, going into any type of software, checking out all of the leads inside the software. There's a lot of cool softwares out there right now. Next would be lead generation. By generating more leads, this is typically the time we start hammering the phones here on the lead generation side. Do that for 2 hours. Now 10:30, for half an hour, you set appointments, you complete and file documents, take some lunch, start posting on social media. 2 o'clock, you start analyzing deals, running comps, etc. And then 4 o'clock, you start meeting clients. This is just an example of a daily task list timeline that you could actually just look at as a kind of a snapshot of what you want to do. So that's just a quick how to determine what to start outsourcing first. Again, I would reiterate grabbing a piece of paper and going through that little overview and going through that little exercise, because it helps me huge. And you also have to look at, we have a lot of clients that are property managers. We have a lot of clients that are investors, a lot of clients that are agents, right? We have some mortgage brokers as well. And we also have a medical division. So each of those that type of exercise will be a little different for the property manager, a little different for the agent, a little different for the investor, et cetera, in the medical offices. All are a little different. And you realize that it all boils down to the same 3 things. Like I said, scaling, efficiency, time freedom. All right, now let's ask ourselves 3 questions when it comes to this. outsourcing and what I should get off my plate. Number one, am I procrastinating at this task? Like I said, you know, you got to do it, but you wake up in the morning and you're freaking cringing. You want to take your phone, you want to throw it in the water. You just don't want to have to do it. Every time you look at, you know, your calendar, whoever uses Google understands it. It'll pop up right on top of your screen. I use an Android. It pops up right there and it'll just stay right in front of me until I get it done or I swipe left. So are you procrastinating at this task? And you find yourself consistently pushing off that paperwork that continues to pile up, right? An appointment that you're forgetting or just posting on social media. That's a big one. For those of you who can't stand posting on social media or just don't have the time, right? Let's say you take a social media class, you're all ramped up. Sunday night, you get done. You're like, all right, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I have my plan. I'm going to post every morning at 8 o'clock. All right, cool. Monday goes, you post. Tuesday goes, you post. Wednesday, you post. Thursday, your buddy calls you. He's got a golf tournament. And you're like, all right, I know I need to post. Let me just post, right? You had a couple drinks that day. You wake up Friday morning. You forget to post in the morning. You go back week after that. Monday, now you're posting at 9 o'clock because you forgot at 8. Tuesday, pushes off to 10. Wednesday, you're like, you know what? Nah, forget that. And it just rinse and repeats. Before you know it, all of that motivation up front, you never post consistently anymore. And we know in this business, everything has to be done consistently. Real estate is a consistent business. It's got to be done every single day, no matter what that task is. You set it up on a calendar and it's got to get done. I know a lot of investors that start marketing, they're all ramped up. All of a sudden they get 2-3 properties they're working on and then they stop marketing. And before you know it, once those properties are done, they look at themselves in the mirror. They're like, uh-oh, what am I going to do now? Please don't do that. That has to do with procrastinating as well. Second one, am I good at doing this task, right? Am I good at doing this task? Typically, you know, if we're not good at performing a task, it takes a while to complete, or you know what, you typically don't actually do it. So make sure you start looking at, am I good at it? If you don't do it or you don't do it well, or you start getting frustrated, you know, just that's a great time to outsource it. And then the last one, could someone else do this better? You know what, it's kind of funny. Many times we find out that we're actually not as good as we think we are, right? We always look at, no one's going to do better than me, or they're not going to do better than me. And then when you actually test it and you really realize that, you know what, is 80% good enough, 90% good enough, 70% good enough? Before you know it, you'll realize done is better than perfect. And consistently done better is way better than perfect, because if you do it perfect once a week, 70-80% done every day is 10 times better than doing it once perfect. So that's the time. These are some of the things that you got to ask yourself. Now, here's some cool things for determining tasks to delegate. Number one, are they very tedious and mindless tasks that require no skill that can easily be outsourced? That's number one. Teachable. Any tasks that are able to be taught to a VA are incredible candidates to delegate. Anything that you can teach. I noticed a spelling error here. I do apologize. Time sensitive. Are these tasks that aren't able to be completed by yourself by a certain time? That's when you definitely need help. You know, we put a lot of times when we put end times and end stamps on things that we actually need to get done. Do we find ourselves missing those completed times? That's a perfect time to get some assistance. In the bottom, you're terrible at it, right? If you perform certain tasks poorly, we touched upon that before, compared to others, it's best to pass those off. Time consuming. We talk a little about income producing tasks versus non-income producing tasks. Boom, pass those off. Tiny, small tasks that don't take a lot of time to complete, but add up throughout the day, right? Those are things definitely to get off your plate. Get them, outsource them, so then you make sure that you have a lot more time to do some income producing tasks. Set yourself up for success, working relationships. So as soon as you decide to bring somebody on, again, if I have to go back, we talked about, you know, what's the role, what's the responsibility, what's your requirements, and what are your results on how to actually bring on and hire a virtual assistant. And then we jump to, how do I determine what to outsource? If once you determine what to outsource, you decide, you know, I know the role, I know the responsibility, requirements. Now I finally outsource, and I'm going to pick exactly who I want. Let's say you go through, let's say you go through the sourcing, the screening, the initial interview, final interview, systems check, boom, you got your person, right? You're ready to rock and roll. Now you're at this step of the process. You're going to set yourself up for a successful working relationship. Now, this stuff is very, very, very important. You definitely need to make sure that once you are working with a virtual assistant, you make them part of your team. And this is something that I see that some individuals make a big mistake out of, is that they don't actually include them in their team meetings. They don't meet with them. They don't huddle with them like they do their own onshore team. Now look to see where we're at right now. We are in a virtual world. Communication is key. Now, Scott, you said this a little bit earlier about you know, we're in a different time right now. It's pretty interesting. The virtual world now is going to be something that's just going to be second nature. So working with a virtual assistant, whether, you know, they're in another state, another country, somewhere around the world, it does not matter. We have to be very comfortable now working remotely, working virtually. This is, I mean, I just saw you had a deal in California. I could promise you, you never flew to that house, right? And checked and knocked on the door and talked to the owner, right?
Yeah, no. I don't do that 90% of the no deals we've got. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So that's my point, is it doesn't matter. It's all communication. It's how we actually communicate and the expectations we set. So let's fast forward now. We now pick the virtual assistant. Here is exactly some of the things. I'm going to give you some very good tips on how to work with a VA. So our company, we go through a 1 month worth of training with our virtual assistants on real estate tasks. But I like using the 80-20 rule, right? 80-20 rule means, Scott, if I'm learning off your platform on notes and I'm one of your students, and you have me, Pat, George, Amy, Jane, Billy, and we all, let's say we all meet in person, we go through your 3-day training, and then we all go back to our houses. We all learned off the same platform, right? We're all on the same level. However, when I go home, it's the 80-20 rule. I'm going to tweak 20% of what you taught me. Pat's going to tweak 20% of what he was taught just to fit him. Amy's going to do the same. Amy's going to do the same. Or Jane, George, Jim are all going to do the same. So it's typically the 80-20 rule. So here, I recommend documenting all of your processes. So for me personally, in the real estate investing space, right now, I am doing a lot of wholesaling, some rehabbing, and some buy and hold. But those are all different tasks than Amy does down at Atlanta. Amy's a high-end broker. She does some flipping, she does wholesaling, but a little different than I do, which fits her area. That's the 20%. So what we do is we do some screen recording on exactly what the systems and processes are for that 20%. So here's just some screen recording software, Screen-O-Matic, to record your processes and narrate as long as you go for your VA to better understand. It's extremely useful, again, for virtual assistants because they can rewatch it, right? I'm actually creating right now a training platform. My virtual assistant, I had to train. So here in Connecticut, the length of foreclosure take forever. Like it takes about 10 plus months for a bank to actually go through the whole process and go through the foreclosure process and take a property back, right? At 120 days, they file a lis pendens on the actual homeowner. So what we have our virtual assistant do is go in every single day into our judicial website, because it's online, and scrape those leads. And what we're doing is they follow up every single day. They go through every record in every town, looking for who filed an appearance, who didn't, Now, the reason why, and I'm just giving you a little bit of the systems that we're going over. Now, what they do is they look to see if they file an appearance, because if they did not file an appearance, that means they are not getting any more notification from the court. So when a foreclosure sale date hits, I'll be one of the first people that knows, because my virtual assistant is following it through the process. We have a whole spreadsheet that she fills out, and then she'll skip trace them, she'll text them, and call them. Now, how did she know how to do this? We had to screen record every step of the process. So if anyone's listening, you could do that in your own state. I will highly recommend copy exactly what I just said, because it's an incredible, incredible lead generator for you and your business. So first and foremost, document your process. Have your VA, again, help you document your processes. Virtual assistants are incredible at documentation and helping you exactly figure out, because a lot of us, we're not always the best at our documentation. So one thing that we could do that works out very well is record your screen, and then your virtual assistant could create a standard operating procedure in written format for you as well. I think it's a very, very good thing. That's, how do I know? That's what they did for me. All right, next one is training your virtual assistant. According to your systems and processes, definitely paramount for a successful relationship. And this is something, I had to put this in red. You get out what you put in. If you have low commitment, you have low results. Look at a virtual assistant as sitting right next to you. Here's the thing. If I had an acquisition guy or girl sit in my office and they were sitting right across from me, but I didn't teach them anything and I didn't tell them anything, they would not be very good. It's the same exact, it doesn't matter if you live in America, Canada, Philippines, doesn't matter where you live. You get out what you put in, right? So please, please, please identify that and make a virtual assistant part of your team. Again, we're in a very interesting time right now, which Zoom is an incredible asset for every single one of our businesses. So you have to do this anyway with your internal team. So you might as well include your virtual assistant as well. Make a communication a priority. It's crucial steps, especially when you're starting to work together, right? I know when I first hired somebody, if I did not keep communication with them, they didn't have direction, right? That's one of the things. Number one, I would highly recommend laying out exactly what your expectations are, but also go back and forth and make sure that you keep in constant communication with your team member. Daily emails, calls, texts, go over assignments and goals, helps build a comfortable relationship with your VA. There's free Wi-Fi texting call apps such as WhatsApp, etc. So communication is key, like I said, whether it's here, whether it's in another state, whether it's in another county, doesn't matter, another country, communication is absolute priority. Some of the cool things that you can do, you could have virtual lunches, which works out very, very well with your team. Send them a couple bucks for lunch. You have a working lunch, you talk back and forth, you go over your day, etc. Hey, how you doing? How's the family? Just some small little things, that you could do in the virtual space. Create shared records. I have probably a billion Google Docs, just like probably many of you. We have our CRM, of course, but we also, we do a lot of work on Google Docs. My virtual, I love Google Docs because just like I was talking about my pre-foreclosure campaign, my VA fills out every single thing, and I could see in real time her working and filling it out. It just makes me feel good that I could actually see her working in real time. That's just something that's a little something about me. Create ongoing project lists as well, where your VA can provide updates and feedbacks, prepaid credit cards provided an extra added layer of protection if your VA will be purchasing on your behalf. We have our virtual assistants purchase stuff on our behalf. So we have a prepaid card that they pay for different types of things. So they manage our marketing. So they're going to be downloading lists that cost money, etc. So they make sure you put a cap on that just in case there's a mistake made. No big deal. We encourage you to build trust. Build trust, build trust, build trust. My virtual assistants are like my family members. They're like my brothers, right? They're like I don't have a sister, but they're like my brothers. If I had a sister, they'd be like my sisters.
Now we get a question online.
Sure.
Bob, Nick asked a question. How much do you fund for these cards? What are you putting on a prepaid credit card on a regular basis?
So I used to it started with $100 and then it went to 200. Now it's over $1,000.
Nice.
It all depends.
And
Yeah.
then,
Good. Oops, sorry.
I was gonna say that's because you've built trust. They've built trust with you over time, so you don't want it. It costs you more for them to track you down and ask you versus just taking care of it after a while, right?
Yeah. I mean, do I recommend ever giving my credit card to somebody that I just met in one day? No, I don't. Right. And I would never trust giving it to, if my brother just introduced me to somebody, I would never give him my credit card that same day. Right. So it's the same kind of concept, but once you build a relationship over time, then I feel comfortable pretty quick. I mean, you guys could probably tell I wear my heart on my sleeve. So I'm pretty, I trust people pretty quick, sometimes to my detriment, but hey, you live and you learn. It's kind of like that. Scott, you gotta talk to Pat on this one. It's kind of like back in 2005 in a knockdown rebuild that we got sold in on and we lost about 150. Don't do that. That's not too smart. So, but that's another for another day. That story will haunt me forever. But hey, you know what? Now we can tell the story. I can tell you what not to do. So,
exactly. Nick also asked a question. Do you have them also analyze deals, even if it's just a first cut analysis?
I do. Yep. I have that. I think so for me, we get a lot of leads coming in. So they analyze the deals really quickly, really quickly. There's a lot of different ways. You could go on Zillow, you could go on PropStream, right? There's just a very quick analysis that you could get done and sent back to you. There's also platforms like RealFlow, Podio, different types of Podio software that I know there's a lot of companies that are building off of those platforms that have comps that you could actually run. That's another way to do it as well, that virtual assistants can manage for you. So let go without losing control. So can your business, here's some of the questions that we definitely have to ask ourselves. Can your business run without you? Yes or no? You know what? I know for me personally, when I first started working with virtual assistants, I was on vacation and my business couldn't run without me because I had my phone literally sitting right next to me. We're in Mexico. My phone is blowing up. I got my wife looking at me. I got my kids looking at me saying, if you pick up that phone, I'm going to kill you. I mean, they didn't say that in wording, but their eyes said exactly what they were thinking. So I'm answering that question. Now, can my business run without me? Yes. Before, no. Are you wearing every hat in your business? Are you in marketing? Are you in sales? Are you the bookkeeper? Are you the IT? Are you human resources? Are you acquisition? Are you disposition? Are you everything? Right? That's one of the things you definitely have to look at because, if you look at the wholesale business or any type of business, rehab business, there is a lot of moving parts, right? You got to work your butt on getting the deals in the door, right? You got to acquire the property, you got to negotiate the property, and then you got to sell the property, right? On a wholesaling. And as a rehabber, think about this. You have to find the properties, then you have to manage the construction if you're not doing the work yourself. So you're back and forth the job site all the time. And then you got to work on also keeping that pipeline filled while also building private money, while also marketing, while also trying to sell, et cetera, et cetera. So you have a lot of stuff going on in the real estate business, right? So you can't do all of these and be efficient. All right, little Robert Kiyosaki quote. If you are not working to get your business or investing operation to operate without you, you are thinking too small. Think team and systems. I know you said that before, Scott. I grew up in a hockey locker room. So everything that I've learned growing up had to do with team. I'm working my butt off for this person. I'm working my butt off for that person, and we're winning together. It's the same thing in business. For me personally, I like working with a team because I know if it's a right team. I like working with a team of A players because now I can rely on them if I outsource a task, like my virtual assistants. I know exactly every single day I am going to have a list of leads coming in from Craigslist, Zillow, pre-foreclosure as an example. I also have a team of virtual assistants that cold call. So I know I'm going to have some interested to sells coming into my office every single day. So that's a very, very good thing. And I need a team to do that because if I'm relying on myself to cold call every single day, I will stop doing that. When I first started real estate, I door knocked every single day. Actually, no, every Monday through Friday, I would knock on doors from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. When I got home, all of those doors that I door knocked, because I would have a list of pre-foreclosures, I would also skip trace them and outbound dial them. And my outbound dial script was, hey, I knocked on your door today. I left you a leave behind packet. I'm just looking to see if you're interested in working with me. We have some solutions, blah, 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 blah. But that I was running ragged. After a year, man, I was beat up. Yep, I was beat up. But I will tell you one thing. I am very, very happy that I did that. We didn't have the systems that we have now, right? All the technology that we have now, we didn't have back then. But I do highly recommend, if you can and you have the opportunity, to door knock. Once obviously this craze slows down a little bit, I would highly recommend you do, because you can learn a lot, right? So let go without losing control. Limiting mindset is not scalable. Keeping yourself in your genius zone. So do what you do best. This is a very good quote. Do what you do best and outsource the rest. In the best automation, in my opinion, I've gone through a lot of, I've hired in-house employees, costing me a crap ton of money. For me personally, when I look at dollars and cents and I look at the investment in somebody that has a 4-year college degree, I just pulled some stats. 4-year college degree, someone coming out of school with a 4-year college degree, they're demanding about $48,000 a year, which means that's $4,000 per month. But guess what? You got to add on a lot of stuff on top of that, right? You got unemployment, you got taxes, you got insurance, you got benefits, you got blah, blah, blah. It keeps going on and on and on and on. So really, you got to add on another, I think, 12%, different states, but you add on another 12% on top of that. You could hire 3 virtual assistants for that, 2 virtual assistants for that, right? So I've had to learn that the hard way. So this for me is the best way to do it personally. Not only, obviously, I have a virtual assistant company, but I'm also use my virtual assistants in every aspect of my business. For me personally, I would definitely recommend, Scott, you teach the business and you do the business. I absolutely love that. Every time I look at somebody and I think about, hey, am I going to use their service or product? I look to see first if they're also active in the business. So just a little takeaway that
you gotta be these days, man. There's too many people that have done it from 2, 3, 4 years ago, not doing it now. We all know the market's changed. Every day it's evolving. You keep your nose to the grindstone.
Yep, 100%. A couple things. Reward the skills you value. It's not necessary. This happens to do with with your teammates. It's not necessary giving them bonuses, but keeps VAs motivated to work hard and builds relationships. I would highly recommend you do reward your VAs, your team, whether they're virtual assistants or in-house. It doesn't matter. Make sure we always reward our team members, right? It doesn't have to be money. It could be anything. It could be recognition. Everybody loves recognition. Doesn't always have to be dollars and cents. Any type of recognition, you could send them edible arrangements, flowers, whatever it is, right? Could be gift cards, etc. But it shows that you value them as an actual team member. A virtual lunch will be a great. Pay for the lunch. Very inexpensive. It's just appreciation. Highlight them on your website. It's another great thing to do, right? So again, make sure we always remember this, whether it's virtual assistants or anything. Make sure that we look at that stuff and reward the skills that you value. Having the right tools as well. Provide necessary tools to set your V up for success and maximize productivity. So when you're getting set up with the right tools, like whether it's a dialer, whether it's a phone system, whatever it is, make sure we help them get set up. Provide CRM access, any type of communication platform, access to social media accounts, emails, any other ways to reach them. We use Glip Ring Central. I also have Viber. I also have WhatsApp. I have a lot of different things going on. So I want to make sure that I have a number of ways to get a hold of my team all the time. And they also manage my CRM as well, which is very, very important. I had one of my virtual assistants build a buyer's list. They're focusing on property managers today. Did a great job. So we got another property manager. And we're not looking for them to manage our property, Scott. What we're doing is we're looking for them to actually bring their buyers to us because we get a lot of properties. So if they could actually, allow their buyers to buy our product, now we have a way to offload and disposition our wholesale properties to them. So it's a win-win. So that's another just a good little nugget that you could go after property managers. Interviewing, just real quick. Thoroughly interview, like I said before, send them through initial interview, final interview, look for limited accent, English proficiency, any communication skills. There's one thing, I don't know if it's getting too late, Scott. I know sometimes I start talking, but is there a time that we need to wrap this up? Okay, we're good?
We're good. You're golden. You're good.
All right, perfect. So one of the things that I do and that I think is very, very helpful, I got this from John Maxwell book, Leadership, and it talks about 7 types of capacity. And it's energy capacity, and that's the ability to push on physically. So I always look at when I'm bringing somebody on, do they have enough energy for that role? So for instance, if they're a cold caller, they're on the phone all day long, they better have enough energy. They better have energy, right? Next one is emotional capacity. Are they able to manage their emotions? Are they an emotional wreck? Or could they stay, non-emotional in what they're doing on a daily basis, right? Next one is thinking capacity. Do they think effectively, right? This is really, really important. For me personally, a lot has to do with communication, right? And when I say something, do they understand what I'm saying? Do they think the right way? Do they not think the right way? Next one's people capacity. Do they have the ability to build relationships? That is really, really important if you have a virtual assistant on the phone. If you have a virtual assistant just doing admin, guess what? People capacity, not a big deal. Next one is creative capacity. Do they have the ability to see options and find answers? Are they a problem solver, right? Different roles that you need in your business may require them to be creative, right? Do they look at things as a problem or only a challenge where they have the ability to find answers? Last two, one of them is in production capacity, the ability to accomplish your results. So for instance, if you set goals for an individual, like cold calling, hey, you got to call 200 phone numbers every single day. Did they accomplish that? Do they have production capacity? Do they have the ability to accomplish that, or do they not? Last one is leadership capacity. That's the ability to lift and lead others. Not everybody, you can look at this. These are all capacities I would highly recommend just taking and using, whether it's looking for a virtual assistant or anyone in your office or anyone in your business. If you're looking to build your business right now, please write those 7 capacities down because I think that's very, very important for all of us.
Yeah.
So that's thoroughly interview, ensure they fit within your business culture. I should highlight this in whatever boldest color you have out there, but culture is on the top of the list. You have to make sure they just ooze and feel what your culture is and what you actually, do they have ethics and integrity, loyalty and trust, team, servant leadership? Those are our core values. Do they fit within your core values and mesh well with you? Only hire a true match for the position you need, and then their personality and skills should align with the tasks being done. So for instance, if you're looking for someone over the phone, make sure that they have very good personality skills, make sure they have people skills, make sure they have the thinking skills, emotional capacity, those type of things, right? If they're admin, if you want them to do admin work, make sure they're very good at admin. They know how to do work off Google Sheets. They know how to scrape leads. They know how to skip trace, things like that. And then finally, that is pretty much what we got today, Scott.
Good stuff. Good stuff. They got a couple questions here. Let's see here. Nick asked a question. He goes, what skill set can you bundle with the same person in your experience?
What skill set? You could get somebody on anything. If you're doing outbound dialing, they could also take inbound calls as an example. Which role are you talking about? Real estate investing, real estate agent, or property manager? I should actually just state that. What
could you be able to combine probably outbound calling with admin or social media aspect of things?
You can do that, but if it's not on the creative side. So what I mean by that, if you're not creating the content, then the answer is yes, because that's a total different type of, so think about yourself. I think about me, right? On the marketing side and on the cold calling side and on the admin side, if I look at me being a bookkeeper, me personally, and me being a cold caller, I'm way better at cold calling, right? So if I had to go back to bookkeeping, it's very, very difficult. As you can tell, I have a lot of energy and I'm going 100 miles an hour. So for me to slow down and actually do bookkeeping, I would make a lot of mistakes. So in your example, can you do social media posting? 100%. And do cold calling? 100%. A lot of times, you know, when we look at all the tasks we do, especially phone work, when you're doing phone work, over time, it gets monotonous. So that's a great task to take a step away from the phone and start doing. When you're talking about phone work and bookkeeping, though, that's on the total opposite of the spectrum.
Right.
That's way on the opposite side. So the answer is yes.
Yeah. Nick asked a question, would you mind providing a list of your best tools?
Absolutely. Which type of tools you talking about? Phone tools? You talking about Google Docs? Those are all tools. I mean, there's like a billion tools. You know what I mean?
Well, don't you, the biggest question I think Nick is asking, I think others are asking on here too, is, you know, it's sometimes overwhelmingly daunting to figure out what can I outsource? You know, what are the things that I can or can't do? And I think you've got a list or something like that you've put together on what the top things that people can outsource, right?
Yeah, I have 100 task lists that I could send you. And also, you could just write my email down. It's Bob at REVA Global instead of the sales at REVA. Put Bob at revaglobal.com, and I'll answer any question that you need. Also, like I said, you showed it before. Friday coffee break. You could go to fridaycoffeebreak.com. On Friday, we do a podcast or a series at 10 a.m. and we answer all questions live as well. So either email me, get on that call, or ask me the questions now. But the tools in reference to, I'll answer some of the tools questions. For outbound dialing, with my dialing team, so we have about 20 outbound dialers right now. They're using Five9 as a system, but that's the one we use for our mass. We have a lot of clients that use that system. But our one-on-one, my one-on-one VA, I use smartphone.com. So that's SMRT phone, PHONE.com. A lot of different list providers out there. I pull actually a couple different. I use RealFlow has an AI product inside their software that I pull their leads from. So that's one of them. US Lead List is very good. There's some probate lists that we actually pull locally. We actually have someone go down to town hall, but I know there's other probate lists. But we do a lot of non-owner occupied, and we use RealFlow lists. Tools, we have a CRM that we use. We use RealFlow, and I also use a Podio-based type of CRM as well. So I use two of them. We use Google Docs a lot.
Yeah.
What are some other tools?
Well,
that's a lot.
I mean, it depends on, there's a lot depending on what they're going for. So I think the best thing to do would be schedule a phone call there. But you also, you sent me over a link with your PDF on the top 100 tasks as well too.
Perfect.
That link is still what you want to use, right? bit.ly/notecloserva. And I put the link in the chat roll here for everybody. So you can click it down there and schedule stuff. But I want to run something. We had a question here from Thomas. He asked the question, is there a much difference in the effectiveness of cold callers when they are US based versus Philippines based?
I have not found there to be a big difference. I use US based and I have used virtual assistants out of the Philippines. Now I go to virtual assistant out of the Philippines because it costs a heck of a lot less. Now, how I use virtual assistants, see, cold calling, that's exactly what it is. It's a cold call. They're hammering the phones every single day to gauge seller motivation. The only thing I'm looking for is someone to raise their hand that says, yes, I am willing to entertain an offer. then it's up to me to
Mhm.
turn that into money. So I just want to make sure it's clear on there's different products out there, but that's how I use it, and that's how I define cold calling.
Jonathan from the live stream on Facebook asked, what if we don't want to jump through all the hoops of trying to hire? Do you help people with hiring VAs?
Yeah, so we offer trained virtual assistants, trained real estate virtual assistants. So we have a company, so in the Philippines, I have a recruiting sourcing department, training department, placement department that will place the top VA with you. So you send over all the skills, exactly what you're looking for. And all of our VAs that go through our pool, we match up the perfect fit for you. It's kind of like a match.com, if you will. In the virtual assistant space. Not that way. Yeah, not that way. That came out so wrong. Sorry, man.
That came out order bride. Come on.
Yeah, no. I apologize. That came out wrong. It's I got caught on that one, right?
Yeah, that is good. One of the big things is people worry about, and this thing is what drives me bonkers, is I've had VAs. I still got people working remotely. I need to talk to you because I need to hire a couple of VAs because we're going to speed up our outbound phone calls.
Yep.
The bank asset managers. I made 4 hours of phone calls last Wednesday afternoon to 50 people.
Yep.
And while it's a great thing to show people how to do it, it doesn't mean I want to do it 3 days a week. I still want to outsource it and just handle what those are going on. So, we're talking. But when people think about this, the biggest thing right now, oh my God, my budget's a little tight, or I've been laid off from my full-time gig. What kind of hours and things should they start budgeting for to bring somebody on a part-time basis, Bob?
Yep. So we have part-time, full-time, which is 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week. And ours is $10.60 an hour for full-time and $10.60 an hour for part-time and $9.60 an hour for full-time. So, wow. Which is, I can't get that in Connecticut. Not even close.
No, that's phenomenal.
I mean, no hidden fees, nothing. There's no, Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I look at here and I see before the corona, you're like, hey, $15 to flip burgers. Well,
Yep.
I mean, someone like you said, coming in that, I want to make $20-25 an hour. I'm like, okay, great. Do you have any experience? No. Well, that's not feasible for a lot of people to start off with. When you add all the other things you talked about to begin with, this way, hey, bring in somebody who's qualified, who's trained up to a certain point that then you still got to spend the time coaching them and train them exactly for what you're looking for, right, Bob?
Correct. So it's the 80-20 rule we went over, right? Because everyone has the 20% that is specific to them.
That's awesome. Now, if somebody, I'm a big believer, guys, schedule a strategy session there, REVAstrategysession.com. What kind of length of a time frame does a strategy session take, Bob, for the most part?
It takes about 15 to 30 minutes. Yep. And I highly recommend do it. And, any questions you have, you could email me direct. It's bob@revaglobal.com. Again, you can find me anywhere. On Friday coffee break, you could find me on directly on my website. I'm all over the internet. So anywhere you need me, you got my direct contact info.
Cool. Nick asked a question: are there any legal or payment nuances working with Philippines or other non-U.S. areas?
No, there's not. Nope. No, we don't hold you into a contract for 6 months. Some companies out there that I've always, and I know you know this, Scott, but I've always been brought up where if I don't do a good service, then guess what? You should be able to cut me anytime. I'm not going to lock you into, I just got caught. There was a dialer that just did that to me, literally a dialing company that said, oh, well, you have to pay for the next month. I'm like, well, I didn't use a service. Well, you signed this contract. To me, that's not the right way to run a business, but some people do. And we don't hold any, we don't hold you in any contract. If you don't like us, then guess what? That's your choice. You know what I mean? It's our choice. I think it should be anyone's choice that way.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you guys that are out there right now thinking about on the note space of things, and Bob talked about some different lead gen stuff, there's some very simple things you'd be doing. Obviously, making contact with the bank asset managers, reaching out on LinkedIn. I'm a big proponent of raising capital, of using a VA to go to the county records to scrub self-directed IRA investors and pulling that information so that you can then put in a list and then have them scrub it or do direct mail out to them, or in your local area to do that kind of stuff there too. Those are very, very profitable tasks for your VAs right off the bat that could have a really immediate bang for your buck out there to put some deals and deal flow in. So let's see here. Jason asked a question: why did you choose 5-non instead of Call Tools or Moho Dialer, by the way?
Yeah, so there's two of them. So my My virtual assistants that I have a company called Deal Dialers as well, right? That's attached to REVA Global. And that is a group of my virtual assistants. And that was the best software at the time to actually set it up to handle multiple clients at once. That's the only reason why. I would not recommend it if you have a one-on-one VA. It's expensive and it's confusing as heck. I'll be straight with you, right? That is fine, but it is very, very robust. You do not need that. I was looking at like any of the tools that you said, Zen calls. Like I said, I use smartphone for my one-on-one VA that does calling. I also use it myself because we want to make sure that we record all of our recorded calls when we're calling sellers back. I actually just had to call I had to call Penske, a moving truck today, because we have a client that we are prepaying for the moving truck so then they could go, because they said, well, could you give me $5,000 first? I'm like, no, I'm not giving you $5,000 first. So the reason why I wanted to use smartphone to record that is because I know next time my VA is going to do that for me. Now we have a recording. They know how to handle that call.
Yeah, that's critical too, especially if you're reaching out to borrowers or buyers or people that are distressed, stuff like that. Yeah, yep. Yeah, they want $5,000 out front, and then they're not going to leave.
That's exactly right. Like I think I have $10,000 waiting for me on Friday. If I don't do that now, I'm screwed. So, yeah, we got a nice Zillow wholesale deal coming up on Friday, so that's good.
Very, very nice. Any weird tasks that stand kind of on the outside that you've had one of your VAs do before? Anything outside the lines?
You mean outside the line, like outside the lines, or
oh, just like any? What's the weirdest task anybody's had a VA do something for that you can talk about here?
You know, it's funny. We had a individual in the bar scene. So he was actually he was making relationships online, not those type of relationship, but relationships online with other bars to make sure that they could co-promote each other. And that was a unique thing. Yeah, that was probably one of the most unique things.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Yep. Well, any other questions for Bob before we let him get back to his family here? It's after 9 o'clock on the East Coast now for him. We know his wife getting any ugly looks for hanging out.
Hey, we're in quarantine, man. This is good stuff. Keep asking questions. Come on.
What questions you got? Come on, guys. He's needing extra time. Come on there. Here we go.
I need this question.
But basically, best email is for you, bob@revaglobal.com, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yep. And then bit.ly/notecloserVA, where the N and the C and note closer are capitalized and the VA is capitalized too. I'll put it in the chat roll and the images, but if you're listening to this, check it out. bit.ly/notecloserVA is the link to get to be able to download that 100-point checklist and be able to connect in and schedule. And what's great too, actually, let me share my screen. Is it pulls up, if I pull this up right, because it's got, here we go. This is the thing you can get there, which is great. Love it because you go through all these things that everything, and this is a great kind of brainstorming thing to think about. If you can't think about what you can or what you can outsource, what you can have them do, start doing for you. If you find yourself doing these things, you're not so good. Like a lot of you guys could probably hire a marketing VA right off the bat to help with your social media or your direct mail campaigns, or even your email campaigns out to asset managers or your investors database. Those are some of the most important things that we see done. But that'll be the thing after you go to, let me share my screen one more. Share here, because I had it pull up here. Where is it? Oh, I have Octopus up here. There we go. This will take you there. And you fill that in there to get your 100 tasks you can have done for you. And then I love the testimonies you got here. You have some big hitters down here doing some great things with you guys for you out there. So guys, take advantage of this. Great stuff. Bob's doing a great job. Jason D, is there a discount code for Note Camp 2020? No, you heard the price. It's there for you. Take advantage of it there for you guys. All right. So any other questions from those that are there? Anybody watching online? Another question? No. Bob, thanks for coming on Note Night in America, bud. I appreciate it so much. You see Pat next time, give him a good little ribbon in the rib cage for me, if you don't mind. All righty?
Absolutely. I will. He's a tough dude, though. He's a tough dude, so I will. He is.
I was thinking, as soon as I said check into the boards, he might check you back. We gotta be careful.
That's right. Don't mess with a cage fighter, right? Don't mess with a cage fighter. Appreciate it, though.
Exactly. Hey, thanks, man. We'll be in touch soon. All right, brother?
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for Note Night in America here. Go take advantage of that. If you have any questions, feel free to email Bob or email me directly. I'm glad to put you in touch with him, get rock and rolling. Look, one of the most important things I can tell you right now, if you want to go from where you're making so much money right now to 6 figures, adding your first assistant, whether it's virtual or in person, will help you add 100 grand to your bottom line. As long as you're using them on a regular basis to outsource the crap that you don't need to be spending your time with. And that's why we brought Bob on here tonight. Hey, you may not be able to hire somebody locally, but you can hire somebody who's experienced and is doing amazing things like Bob is for investors, not only here in his area and using VAs for his business, but helping investors all across the country as well. So take advantage of it, take action, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody.